Despite being a massive nerd, I never played Dungeons & Dragons when I was younger. I would have needed a group of like-minded friends like in Stranger Things, but sadly they were nowhere to be found in my neighbourhood. But I did enjoy the Dragonlance novels. They were some of the first fantasy books I ever read, and I still have a soft spot for them. Sadly, this Dungeons & Dragons movie is not set in the Dragonlance realm, which is a bit disappointing. Instead, it's set in the world of Forgotten Realms, which is featured in countless books, board games and video games, none of which I am at all familiar with. But it doesn't matter, the movie makes it perfectly clear what's going on, so newcomers don't feel left out. Refreshingly, there isn't any massive info dump of lore at the start. We're just plunged into this seemingly generic fantasy world, and left to pick up all the details as we go along. I'm sure it's full of Easter eggs for Forgotten Realms fans. I caught a few mentions of Baldur's Gate, which I know is a video game that I haven't played, and I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from. The actual story is refreshingly simple. For most of the game, it's a simple case of one guy trying to rescue his daughter from his former friend turned evil lord, and along the way he has to recruit other people to help him. We do get all the big flashy action sequences you might expect, from the prison break at the start, to the maze of death at the end, and in the middle they even get to sneak through a dungeon to steal gold from a dragon. And it's all done with far more wit and humour than you might expect from this kind of movie. It does feel like there might have been a last-minute rewrite of the ending to increase the stakes, as once its primary mission is over, the gang finds themselves having to thwart an evil plot to take over the world, which was bubbling away in the background in several earlier scenes, but was never the main focus. So the final villain is perhaps a little underdeveloped. But that's just a minor complaint. One of the best things about this movie is its sheer willingness to innovate. There's tons of interesting ideas thrown in just about every scene, all of which adds up to make it way better than the average fantasy adventure movie. From the character who could change into any animal, to the anti-gravity spell, and the teleportation staff. This last one is particularly interesting, as it's a blatant copy of the Portal gun from the Portal video games. They have yet to be made into live-action movies, so this is really the first chance we get to see the idea working in live action. And yes, it does work exactly the same, only both portals are blue. But they're not fooling anyone. To their credit, the filmmakers have come up with numerous innovative ways to use the technology, and it is a definite highlight of the movie. But I do hope they got the rights to Portal first, as otherwise they could definitely be sued for a lot of money. Despite the fantasy setting, the actors all do a good job portraying characters you can relate to. Chris Pine shows a talent for comedy, which hasn't been used quite so much in his previous roles, and he also has to sell the emotional core of the movie in his relationship with his daughter, which he also does well. Michelle Rodriguez as Holger gets all the best fight scenes, as you might expect, and it is a relief that her character's relationship with Chris Pine is platonic and not romantic, which would have been the obvious road to go down. Sophia Lillis plays Doric, the shape-changer. She's a really quirky actress who's always interesting to watch, and you can see that she has definite potential to be a much bigger star in future. Justice Smith as Simon is maybe not quite as strong as the others. His character being a hopeless sorcerer feels a bit too much like something we've seen before, but that could just be me. But Hugh Grant is consistently great as Forge, the morally ambiguous rogue. He's clearly having the time of his life playing the role, and his performance is infectiously enjoyable. Overall, it's a hugely enjoyable movie, full of witty dialogue and inventive action scenes, and I would definitely recommend you go and see it. It's got the same kind of tone as movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Mummy, or the first Pirates of the Caribbean, so hopefully it won't be followed by endless sequels that are nowhere near as good as the original. But even if that does happen, at least there's going to be a Dragonlance TV show, so I can look forward to that. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, and maybe consider subscribing. My next movie review should be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I guess is not a million miles away from this movie, only in science fiction rather than fantasy. Until then, why not check out one of my other movie reviews, and I'll see you next time.